Hello, dear boys. Let us continue the third part of your history chapter number 2. The name of the topic: From Trade to Territory, the company establishes power. Boys, in our previous discussion, we have learned how the East India Company rule expands. Then Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore, about him we have learned. Boys, let us see page number 17, the right margin of the book. You have to look to the right margin of page number 17, the legend of Tipu. Legend means traditional story. The traditional story of Tipu Sultan. Kings are often surrounded by legend and their powers glorified through folklore. Here is a legend about Tipu Sultan, who became the ruler of Mysore in 1782. It is said that once he went hunting in the forest with a friend's friend. There he came face to face with a tiger. His gun did not work and his dagger fell to the ground. He battled with the tiger unarmed until he managed to reach down and pick up the dagger. Finally, he was able to kill the tiger in the battle. After this, he came to be known as the Tiger of Mysore. So, why Tipu Sultan was known as the Tiger of Mysore? You find here he had the image of the tiger on his flag. So, let us continue the next part of the chapter, that is page number 18. War with the Marathas. From the late 18th century, the company also sought, means attempt to find, to curb and eventually destroy Maratha power. Curb means check, and eventually in the end, what they have done, destroyed Maratha power, damages Maratha power. With their defeat in the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761, the Marathas' dream of ruling from Delhi was shattered. So, with their defeat, that means the defeat in the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761, the Marathas' their dream of ruling from Delhi was shattered. Shattered means broken into many small pieces. They were divided into many states under different chiefs. Sardars. Chief means Sardar, that is Sardar means it is Hindi word. Belonging to dynasties such as Sindhia, Holkar, Gaikwad, and Bhonsle. So these are the different dynasties which were divided. These chiefs were held together in a confederacy under a Peshwa who became its effective military and administrative head based in Pune. So, on the base of Pune Confederacy means a league, okay, under a Peshwa who became its effective military and administrative head based in Pune. Such see dynasties as Scindia, Holkar, Gaikwad, and Bhonsle, the chiefs were held together here in a confederacy. The Marathas were subdued in a series of wars. Subdued means overcome. The Marathas, they were overcome in a series of wars. In the first war that ended in 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai, there was no clear victor, means no person who defeats an enemy, that is called victor. So, what we find here in the first war that ended in the year 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai, there was no clear victor. The second Anglo-Maratha War, which was took place in between 1803 to 1805, was fought on different fronts, resulting in British gaining Orissa and the territories north of the Yamuna River, including Agra and Delhi. Finally, at last, the Third Anglo-Maratha War of 1817 to 1819 crushed. Crushed means deformed Maratha power. So, that Anglo-Maratha War of 1817 to 1819, it deformed the Maratha power. The Peshwa was removed and sent away to Bithur near Kanpur with a pension. So Peshwa was removed from there and he was sent, that means away to Bithur near Kanpur with a pension. The company now had complete control over the territories south of the Vindhyas. Now the company had complete control over that areas, that territories south of the Vindhyas. The claim to paramountcy. Boys, it was a British policy. The claim to paramountcy means it was a British policy which was introduced in India by British East India Company under Lord Hastings, the first Governor General of British India. So now let us see. It is clear from the above that from the early 19th century the company pursued an aggressive policy of territorial expansion. So pursuit means they follow. What that means? It is clear. It is clear from the above that from the early 19th century, from the first part of 19th century, the company, they follow what? An aggressive policy. They were eager. They were eager with a policy of territorial expansion. They want to expand their territory. Under Lord Hastings, Governor General from 1813 to 1823, a new policy of paramountcy was initiated. Was initiated means having supreme. Now the company claimed that its authority was paramount or supreme. Hence, its power was greater than that of Indian states. Paramount means power. Now, after that, it means the company claimed that its authority was powerful or supreme. Hence, its power was greater than that of Indian states. In order to protect its interest, it was justified in annexing or threatening to annex any Indian kingdom in order to protect interest. It was justified means reasonable. It was reasonable in annexing or threatening to annex any Indian kingdom. This view continued to guide later British policies as well. This process, however, did not go unchallenged. For example, when the British tried to annex the small state of Kittur In Karnataka today, Rani Channamma took to arms and led an anti-British resistance. Resistance means opposition. Here anti-British resistance movement. So Rani Channamma, she took to arms and she led an anti-British resistance or opposition movement. She was arrested in 1824 and died in prison in 1829. So for that movement, she was arrested in the year. Rani Channamma was arrested in the year 1824 and she died in prison in the year 1829. But Rayana, a poor chowkidar of Sangoli in Kittur, carried on the resistance with popular support. He destroyed many British camps with records. So, here what we observe, after she died, Rani Channamma's death, after her death, so what happened? Rayana, a poor chokidar of Sangoli in Kittur, carried on the resistance with popular support. He destroyed many British camps and records. He damages that. He was caught and hanged by the British in 1830. As a result of this, he was Ranna was arrested and hanged by the British in the year 1830. You will read more about several cases of resistance later in the book. And that means in the forthcoming chapter, you will learn about these cases of resistance more in details. In the late 1830s, the East India Company became worried about Russia. It imagined that Russia might expand across Asia and enter India from the northwest. So, in the late 1830s, the East India Company they became worried. They were worried about Russia. It imagined that Russia might expand across. Russia may come and expand there across Asia and enter India from the northwest. Driven by this fear, the British now wanted to secure their control over the northwest. So, as a result, that means driven by this fear of Russia, the British now they wanted to get their control over the northwest. They fought a prolonged war with Afghanistan between 1838 and 1842 and established indirect company rule there. So they fought a lengthy, prolonged means lengthy, a lengthy war with Afghanistan in between 1838 and 1842 and they established indirect company rule there in Afghanistan. Sindh was taken over in 1843. Next in line was Punjab. But the presence of Maharaja Ranjit Singh held back the company. So Maharaja Ranjit Singh at the time who was ruling there. So Ranjit Singh held back the company. After his death in 1839, two prolonged wars were fought with the Sikh kingdom. See, uh, here what we find after his death, after the death of Ranjit Singh, two lengthy wars were fought with the Sikh kingdoms. Ultimately, in 1849, Punjab was annexed, and at last, that means in the year 1849, Punjab was annexed. The doctrine of lapse. The final wave of annexations occurred under Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856. He devised a policy that came to be known as Doctrine of Lapse. So Lord Dalhousie, he devised that policy, okay, which was known as Doctrine of Lapse. You mark it, underline it. Okay, who was that means it was whose device, okay, or who launched this policy. The doctrine declared that if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would lapse. That is, become part of company territory. So, in that doctrine, it was clear that if an Indian ruler died without any male ruler of his own, his kingdom would lapse. So it has to lose. That is, become part of company, and that kingdom will go to in the hand of the company territory. One kingdom after another was annexed simply by applying this doctrine. So it is because of this doctrine of lapse which was passed here. It is because of that. What happened? One kingdom after another, it was annexed. It was taken by them. Simply by applying this doctrine. Satara in 1848, Sambalpur in 1850, Udaipur in 1852, Nagpur in 1853, and Jhansi 1854. So these are the different, that means, areas which says annex simply by applying this doctrine. Finally, in 1856, the company also took over Awadh. At last, in the year 1856, the company, they also took over Awadh. This time, the British had an added argument. They said they were obliged by duty to take over Awadh in order to free the people from the misgovernment of the Nawab. So, at last, in the year 1856, the company also took over Awadh. After that, this time they find the British had an added argument by saying that they were obliged by duty. Obliged means bound by duty in order to take over Awadh, in order to free the people from misgovernment. So means misgovernment means dishonest government of the Nawab, enraged by the humiliating way in which the Nawab was deposed. The people of Awadh joined the great revolt that broke out in 1857. Here, as it said, um, at the time, as the British had an added argument in which they said they were bound by duty in order to take over Awadh, to free the people from the dishonest government of the Nawab, and by humiliating. Humiliating means make someone feel ashamed or stupid, like that. Way in which the Nawab was deposed. Deposed means removed from office forcefully. So Nawab was, that means deposed from there, removed from office forcefully. The people of Awadh joined the Great Revolt. As a result of this, yes, that means Nawab was removed from the office forcefully. So the people of Awadh, they have joined the Great Revolt that broke, which was took place in 1857. Let us turn over the page and let us see page number 21. Setting up a new administration. Warren Hastings, Governor General from 1773 to 1785, was one of the many important figures who played a significant role in the expansion of company power. So, Warren Hastings was the Governor General from the year 1773 to 1785, was one of the many important figures. Out of that means many important figures. Warren Hastings was one of them who played a significant role, means meaningful role in the expansion of company's power there. By his time, the company had acquired power not only in Bengal. So by his time, by time of, that means Warren Hastings, the company had acquired, means obtained power not only in Bengal but also in Bombay and Madras. Presently, the name of Bombay and Madras, boys, Bombay is called Mumbai and Madras is called Chennai. So, in those days, it was known as, that means Bombay and Madras. British territories were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies. Presidencies means the office of president. So British territories, British areas were in a broad way, it was divided into administrative units known as presidencies. There were three presidencies: Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. Each was ruled by a governor. So each of them, it was ruled by a governor. The supreme head of the administration was the Governor General. So Governor General was the supreme head of the administration. So under the supervision of Governor General, everything was taking place there. Warren Hastings, the first Governor General, introduced several administrative reforms. So Warren Hastings was the first general, introduced several administrative reforms, notably in the sphere of justice. Means reforms means administrative reforms means make changes. Warren Hastings make many changes which were remarkable in the sphere of justice. From 1772, a new system of justice was established. Each district was to have two courts: a criminal court known as Faujdari Adalat and a civil court, that is Diwani Adalat. Diwani Adalat, civil means, you see, civil court, a court that makes decision on legal cases. Those for the European district collectors who presided over civil courts. The criminal courts were still under a Qazi and Mufti, but under the supervision of the collectors. It was, that means the criminal courts were still under Qazi and Mufti, but it was under the supervision of the collectors. Qazi means, let us see to the right side of your book. Qazi means a judge. It's a Muslim word. Then Mufti, a jurist. Jurist means an expert in law of the Muslim community responsible for expounding the law that the Qazi would administer. Then boys, impeachment means a trial by the House of Lords in England for charges of misconduct brought against a person in the House of Commons. You underline this thing also, you know it. Let us turn over to the next page of the book, that is page number 22. A major problem was that the Brahman Pandits gave different interpretations of local laws based on different schools of Dharma Shastra. So there was a major problem. It was that the Brahman Pandits, so Brahmin genius persons, gave different interpretations. Interpretations means explaining the meaning of local laws. It was based on different schools of the Dharma Shastra, which was based on religion. To bring about uniformity, in 1775, 11 Pandits were asked to compile a digest of Hindu laws. So, to bring that means a same equal in 1775, 11 Pandits were asked to compile. To compile means produce by assembling information. A digest of Hindu laws. N.B. Hull had translated this digest into English. So digested as that Hindu Pandit. That means it was again translated by N.B. Hull into English. By 1778, a code of Muslim laws was also compiled for the benefit of European judges. Under the Regulating Act of 1773, a new Supreme Court was established. Okay, a new Supreme Court, it was established. Mark this, okay, when this Supreme Court was established. While a court of appeal, the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, was also set up at Calcutta. The principal figure in an Indian district was the collector. The principal figure, the most important figure in an Indian district was the collector. Collector was the most important figure here. As the title suggests, his main job was to collect revenue. Revenue means income. Whatever income comes, that means it was the duty of the collector to collect it, and taxes, and maintain law and order in his district with the help of judges. So, with the help of judges, police officer, and darogas, that means head of police person is known as daroga. So, with the help of them, it was his main job to collect revenue and maintain law and order. His office, the collectorate, became the new center of power and patronage that steadily replaced previous holders of authority. His office, the collector's office, and the collectorate became the new center of power and patronage. Patronage means the support given by patron, a person who gives financial or other support to a person. That is called patronage here. That steadily means in regular manner. Steadily means always we used to give the always in a regular manner, replace previous holder of authority. The company army. Colonial rule in India brought in some new ideas of administration and reform. So it brought changes, this colonial rule in India, and some ideas also of administration it brought. But its power rested on its military strength. But its power, it was rested, that means on its military strength. It was depend on its military strength. The Mughal army was mainly composed of cavalry, servers, trained soldiers on horseback. Cavalry means soldiers who fought on horseback. By that means riding horse, they used to take battle. They are trained soldiers on horseback and infantry. Infantry means they are the soldiers who fight on foot. That is paidal. Paidal means foot. Paidal soldiers. They were given training in archery, tirandaji. These are Hindi word boys. So archery means tirandaji and the use of sword. How to use sword. This training and how to use sword and archery. This training was given to them. The cavalry dominated the army, and Mughal state did not feel the need to have a large professionally trained infantry. Cavalry means, I already told you, the soldiers who fight on foot. They dominated the army, and the Mughal state did not feel the need to have a large professional trained to them, to this infantry. The rural areas had a large number of armed peasants, and the local jamindars often supplied the Mughals with paidal soldiers. So these paidal soldiers, rural areas had a large number of armed peasants. Peasants means those are agriculturists. So they were provided with arms and armed, and the local jamindars. Jamindar means landowner, often supplied the Mughals with paidal soldiers. A change occurred in the 18th century when Mughal successor states like Awadh and Benares started recruiting peasants into their armies and training them as professional soldiers. So a change it happened there in the 18th century when Mughal successor success another states like Awadh and Benares they started to recruit these peasants into their armies and training them as professional soldiers. The East India Company adopted the same method when it began a recruitment for its own army. The same way, the same procedure they have started. That means by the East India Company also to recruit for its own army, which came to be known as the Sepoy Army. It was known as Sepoy Army from the Indian word Shipahi, meaning soldier. As warfare technology changed from the 1820s, the cavalry recruitments of the company's army declined. So, you see, boys, that cavalry recruitments of the company it fell down, declined. This is because the British Empire was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, and Egypt, where soldiers were armed with muskets and Maslocks. It is because of the British Empire. It was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, and Egypt, where um, the soldiers were with armed muskets, means gun like that, okay, and then matchstocks means a type of gun. The soldiers of the company's army had to keep pace with changing military recruitment, and its infantry regiments now became more important. Here it becomes more important. In the early 19th century, the British began to develop a uniform military culture. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to European style training. Here in the early 19th century, the British started to develop a uniform military culture. Here in this culture, soldiers were increasingly subjected to European style training. It was that means undergo subjected means it was undergo to the model of European style training, drill and discipline that regulated their life far more than before. So changes it arises here. Often this created problems since caste and community feelings were ignored in building a force of professional soldiers. So always that means created problems. It is because of caste and community feelings were refused, ignored means refused in building a force of professional soldiers. Could individuals so easily give up their caste and religious feelings? Could they see themselves only as soldiers and not as members of communities? What did the Sepoys feel? Sepoys means that armed force. Armed force, what did they feel? What did they react to the changes in their sorry? How did they react to the changes in their lives and their identity? That is, their sense of who they were. The revolt of 1857 gives us a glimpse means a partial view into the world of the sepoys. That means gives a partial view into the world of the sepoys. You will read about this revolt in chapter number 5, and this revolt of 1857 is very important, boys, which will you learn in chapter number 5 in more detail. Let us see conclusion of the chapter. The East India Company was transformed from a trading company to a territorial colonial power. So at the end, the East India Company, it was changed from a trading company to a territorial colonial power. The arrival of new steam technology in the early 19th century also aided this process. So the arrival of this new steam technology, scientific way in the early 19th century, it also aided means support this process. Till then, it would take anywhere between 6 and 8 months to travel to India by sea. Steamships reduced the journey time to 3 weeks, enabling more Britishers and their families to come to a far off country like India. So, steamships it reduces their journeys in a short time. They can reach. Okay, say see here, uh, the journey time to 3 weeks, enabling more Britishers and their families to come to a very far off country like our India. By 1857, the company came to exercise direct rule over about 63% of the territory and 78% of the population of the Indian subcontinent. Combined with its indirect influence, influence means here the capacity to have an effect on the development on the remaining territory and population of the country. The East India Company had virtually the whole of India under its control. So now the what happened? The East India Company virtually means nearly the whole India was under its control. So here is the end of your chapter, boys. Sources, different source, and it has given in different pages of your book. That shows as well as you see in page number 24 elsewhere slave trade in South Africa. You get through, you read this. It may be that means helpful for you in any time of your study. So let us conclude here for today. See you again in the next chapter. Thank you all.